Beneath the waves of the Red Sea lies a deadly secret, a place where beauty masks danger and curiosity can cost you your life. This is the story of the Dahab Blue Hole, the most dangerous dive site on Earth. The Blue Hole in the Sinai Peninsula is not just another dive spot. It is a monster disguised as paradise. From above, it looks like a perfect circle of deep blue water, almost inviting, but beneath its surface lies a labyrinth of darkness, pressure, and death. Over the years, this underwater sinkhole has claimed more than 130 lives. Some say the number could be closer to 200. No one knows for sure because no official records are kept. The victims range from novice divers to seasoned professionals, all drawn by the allure of its mysterious depths. What makes the Blue Hole so deadly? Is it the shape of the hole itself, the lack of oxygen in its lower reaches, or is it something else entirely? To understand why the Blue Hole is so dangerous, we need to look at what exactly a blue hole is. During past ice ages, sea levels were much lower, up to 100 meters below where they are today. Back then, many of the world's surface caves and sinkholes were exposed to the elements. Rainwater eroded these formations over thousands of years, carving out intricate networks of tunnels and chambers. As sea levels rose again, salt water flowed over the limestone, further shaping the caves. Eventually, some of these structures collapsed, forming large circular holes visible from the surface. These are blue holes. The outer edges of a blue hole are usually composed of rock that does not dissolve easily, creating a stable rim around the opening. Inside this rim, however, the walls drop dramatically, plunging to depths far greater than the surrounding seafloor. Take the Great Blue Hole off the coast of Belize, for example. Its rim is only 10 meters deep, but if you cross over the edge, you fall vertically to 124 meters, or 407 feet, in a single drop. This creates a stark contrast in color. From above, the water near the rim appears bright and tropical, while the center is a deep, foreboding blue, almost black. The Blue Hole in Dahab shares this feature, but its shape is even more treacherous. At 52 meters, or 170 feet, down, the Blue Hole narrows gradually. At the far end of this funnel lies a massive archway, marking the entrance to a tunnel that descends diagonally through the rock. This tunnel stretches 26 meters, or 85 feet, and leads to the open ocean. Beyond the tunnel, the seafloor drops off in rapid increments, starting at 390 feet and ending at 2,600 feet. Each step downward increases the risk exponentially. Regular air becomes toxic at these depths, forcing divers to use specialized gas mixtures. Even then, the margin for error is razor thin. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and you could find yourself trapped in a nightmare with no way out. For some divers, the Blue Hole seems like a challenge worth taking. Their experience, confidence, and preparation makes them believe that. But the Blue Hole does not forgive mistakes. It lures you in with its beauty, then swallows you whole. And once you're gone, there's no coming back. Tariq Omar is a man who has become synonymous with the Blue Hole's grim reputation. Professionally, he is a technical diver and instructor. Unofficially, he is known as the Bone Collector, or the Gravekeeper. For decades, Tariq has been recovering bodies from the Blue Hole, each recovery adding another chapter to its haunting legacy. He does not keep count anymore. The names blur together, but there are two he will never forget: Martin Guerra and Connor O'Regan. These were the first two divers he ever recovered, and their story set the stage for everything that came after. In 1997, Martin Guerra traveled from Ireland to Egypt to work as a dive instructor. The Red Sea was a dream destination for divers, offering crystal-clear waters, vibrant coral reefs, and endless opportunities for exploration. Martin loved his job, and he had big plans for the future. His friend Connor O'Regan joined him later that year, and the two men spent their days diving, teaching, and planning a new venture back home in Ireland. They wanted to start a travel agency, specializing in overseas dive tours. The Blue Hole would be the crown jewel of their itinerary. Connor was nearing the final phase of becoming an instructor himself. Both men were experienced divers, known for their caution and meticulous attention to detail. On paper, they should have been safe. But the Blue Hole does not care about experience or caution. It demands respect, and even then, it can still take your life. In November of that year, Martin and Connor decided to visit the famous dive site as part of a larger trip organized by PADI, a worldwide diving organization. Dozens of other trained and professional divers were there too, but somehow, Martin and Coron became separated from the group. Alone and unaware of how far they had descended, they made a fatal mistake. They went too deep for the gas mixture they were using. Diving is a delicate balance of physics and biology. At shallow depths, regular air works fine, but as you go deeper, nitrogen builds up in your bloodstream, causing a condition called nitrogen narcosis. Think of it like being drunk underwater. Your judgment becomes impaired, and your reflexes slow down. If you descend too quickly or stay too long, the nitrogen can turn into bubbles inside your body, leading to decompression sickness, or worse, death. Martin and Connor did not realize how deep they had gone until it was too late. The gas mixture in their tanks was meant for recreational diving, not the crushing pressures of the blue hole's depths. Within minutes, they lost consciousness. Their regulators slipped out of their mouths, and they sank to 65 meters, or 213 feet, below the surface. When the rest of the group surfaced and realized the two men were missing, panic set in. Divers rushed back into the water to search for them, but the blue hole does not give up its secrets easily. By the time they found Martin and Connor, both men were already dead. Their bodies floated silently in the dark, cold water, surrounded by nothing but emptiness. The recovery team brought them to the surface, but the damage was done. Two promising lives, two friends with dreams of adventure, were gone in an instant. And yet, their story is just one of many. Think of the blue hole as a funnel that starts wide at the surface and narrows as you descend. At 170 feet, the walls pinch inward, forming a massive archway. Beyond the arch lies a diagonal tunnel stretching 85 feet downward, leading directly into the open ocean. The pressure here is immense, and the water becomes colder, darker, and more unforgiving with every meter you drop. For divers using regular air, this depth is a death sentence. Nitrogen narcosis sets in quickly, clouding judgment and slowing reactions. Even experienced divers can lose track of time and depth, lulled by the eerie beauty of the abyss. But it's not just nitrogen narcosis that kills. Decompression sickness, also known as the bends, strikes when a diver ascends too fast after spending time at extreme depths. As they rise, the dissolved gases in their bloodstream expand rapidly, forming bubbles that block blood vessels and cause excruciating pain. The blue hole's victims are not just statistics, they are stories etched into the fabric of diving history. Each name carries weight, each loss leaves a void that cannot be filled. Each diver who enters its depths carries a dream, a goal, or a challenge they believe they can conquer. But the blue hole does not care about dreams. It is indifferent, merciless, and unforgiving. For every success story, every diver who emerges alive, there are countless others who do not. The blue hole demands respect, preparation, and humility. Yet even then, survival is never guaranteed. Take Yuri Lipsky, whose tragic death in 2000 became a cautionary tale for divers worldwide. Yuri wasn't reckless or inexperienced. He was a certified instructor with years of practice under his belt. When he arrived in Dahab, he dreamed of conquering the blue hole, just like so many others. But dreams can be dangerous things, especially when they blind you to reality. Yuri's father had begged him to promise not to take unnecessary risks. Yuri kept that promise, or at least, he tried to. Within hours of arriving in Dahab, he walked along the strip of dive shops, searching for someone to accompany him. Eventually, he found a local man willing to join him. Together, they entered the water, unaware that Yuri would never return. Yuri's few seconds of video footage tells the story better than words ever could. At first, everything seems normal. The water is bright and clear, teeming with life. Yuri adjusts his camera, smiling faintly as he prepares to document his descent. Around him, other divers float peacefully, their bubbles rising like strings of pearls toward the surface. For a moment, it feels like any other dive. Then, something changes. Yuri looks down, drawn by bubbles rising from unseen depths. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, he begins to sink. His focus shifts. The sunlight fades, replaced by an oppressive darkness that swallows the camera lens whole. Within minutes, the vibrant colors of the reef vanish, leaving only blackness. As Yuri descends, his breathing grows labored. Each inhale sounds louder, sharper, more desperate. By the time he reaches 265 feet, his movements are sluggish, his coordination faltering. Regular air isn't recommended beyond 130 feet, but Yuri keeps going. Why? Was it curiosity, arrogance, or simply the intoxicating pull of the deep? Whatever the reason, it seals his fate. At 298 feet, he hits bottom, struggling vainly against the weight dragging him down. His buoyancy control device bursts from overinflation, a final act of futility in a losing battle. The camera cuts off, leaving viewers with a haunting silence. 40 minutes later, Yuri's absence confirms the worst. Tarek Omar recovered Yuri's body the next day, It was the deepest recovery anyone had ever attempted, a testament to Tarek's skill and determination. But even he couldn't undo the damage. The dive to retrieve Yuri's remains from 300 feet was fraught with challenges that pushed the limits of human endurance and technical diving expertise. At such depths, the risks are astronomical. Nitrogen narcosis clouds judgment, decompression sickness looms as a constant threat, and the slightest equipment malfunction can prove fatal. Yet Tarek, driven by a sense of duty to bring closure to grieving families, ventured into the abyss. He used specialized gas mixtures designed for extreme depths, carefully calculated decompression stops, and relied on years of experience navigating the treacherous waters of the Blue Hole. Despite his meticulous preparation, the emotional weight of the task was undeniable. It always was. Yuri's parents traveled to Dahab to claim their son's belongings, including the camera. Unbeknownst to Tarek, it still worked. The footage played automatically when powered on, forcing Yuri's parents to relive their son's final moments. What made the situation even more harrowing was the realization that the camera had captured every detail of Yuri's descent into chaos, the increasingly labored breathing, the eerie shift from sunlight to suffocating darkness, and the frantic movements as he struggled against an invisible force pulling him deeper. The camera itself was not built for such extreme conditions. Rated for only 246 feet, it should have failed long before reaching Yuri's final depth. Yet, it survived, almost as if fate demanded that Yuri's story be told. This cruel twist of technology turned what could have been a private tragedy into a public lesson, one that continues to haunt viewers decades later. Yuri's video serves as a stark warning to divers worldwide. It shows how quickly things can go wrong, how fragile human life is in the face of nature's indifference. Beyond its chilling impact, the footage has become a cornerstone of diver education, featured in training programs and safety seminars across the globe. Instructors use it to illustrate the dangers of nitrogen narcosis, which can impair cognitive function and often leads to poor decision-making. Yuri's erratic behavior during the latter part of the dive highlights this phenomenon vividly. Additionally, the video underscores the importance of proper buoyancy control, a critical skill that separates experienced divers from amateurs. When Yuri attempted to inflate his buoyancy control device, the overinflation caused it to burst under the immense pressure. That left him unable to ascend. His struggle serves as a grim reminder of how easily equipment misuse or panic can escalate a manageable situation into a catastrophe. But Yuri's story is far from unique. Every year, new names are added to the list of the Blue Hole's victims. Some are experienced divers who push their limits too far. Others are novices lured by the site's reputation without understanding its dangers. Stephen Keenan wasn't just another novice in Dahab. He was a guardian of sorts, someone who had dedicated years of his life to mastering the art of freediving and ensuring the safety of others in one of the world's most dangerous underwater environments. Born and raised in Glasnevin, near Dublin, Stephen had always been drawn to adventure and the ocean. His journey into freediving began in 2009, and by 2017, he had become one of the most accomplished safety divers in the global freediving community. Safety divers play a critical role in the sport, standing by to assist athletes attempting record-breaking dives. They are often the last line of defense against disaster, and Stephen took this responsibility to heart. But nothing could have prepared him for what happened on July 21st, 2017, a day that would etch his name into the annals of diving history as both a hero and a tragic figure. That morning, Stephen stood near the edge of the Blue Hole, the infamous sinkhole shimmering innocently under the Egyptian sun. The water was calm, almost inviting, but Stephen knew better than anyone how deceptive its beauty could be. Beneath the surface lay a labyrinth of crushing pressures, suffocating darkness, and unpredictable danger. He wasn't there to explore or push limits that day. He was there to ensure others made it back alive. Among the divers that day was Alessia Zecchini, an Italian freediver attempting a deep dive as part of her training. Stephen had worked closely with Alessia before, and their partnership was built on trust and mutual respect. As she descended into the depths, Stephen remained vigilant, ready to intervene if anything went wrong. The call for help came quickly. During her ascent, Alessia encountered difficulties and signaled for assistance. Witnesses recalled how Stephen sprang into action without hesitation, reaching her just in time to provide support. With no regard for his own safety, he guided her toward shallower depths, determined to get her out alive. Every second counted. His movements were deliberate, his focus unwavering. When they finally surfaced, Alessia gasped for air, alive, but the cost of saving her became clear almost immediately. By the time Stephen ensured her safe ascent, he had exhausted nearly all of his oxygen reserves. Struggling against the crushing pressure and lack of oxygen, he attempted to make his way back to the surface, but nitrogen narcosis clouded his judgment, and physical exhaustion took its toll. At 105 feet, Stephen succumbed to the weight of the ocean, leaving behind a legacy of selflessness and sacrifice. His sacrifice underscores the dual nature of exploration, the thrill of discovery, and the peril of overreach, reminding us that even the most skilled among us are not immune to the unforgiving forces of nature. The Dahab Blue Hole does not discriminate between novice and expert. It claims lives indiscriminately, proving time and again that no one is invincible. Stephen's story gained even wider recognition when it was featured in a Netflix documentary titled The Deepest Breath. The film explores not only his heroic actions, but also his relationship with Alessia Zecchini and the dangers of freediving in extreme environments. For many divers, the allure of the Blue Hole lies in its deceptive simplicity. From above, it looks serene, a perfect circle of turquoise water surrounded by golden sand and jagged cliffs. Tourists flock to its shores, snapping photos and marveling at its beauty. Some even wade in, unaware of the horrors lurking below. But for those who venture deeper, the Blue Hole reveals its true nature, a merciless predator hiding beneath a tranquil facade. Its accessibility only adds to the danger. Unlike other notorious dive sites that require hours of travel or specialized equipment, the Blue Hole is right there, waiting. You can walk straight off the beach and into its jaws. This ease of access has led to countless tragedies, especially among inexperienced divers. Many come to Dahab seeking adventure, lured by tales of the Blue Hole's legendary status. They rent gear from unlicensed operators, willing to cut corners for a quick profit. These rogue instructors often skip critical safety checks, handing over tanks and regulators to people who barely know how to use them. In some cases, they encourage risky behavior, pushing clients to go deeper or stay longer than they should. Money talks in Dahab, and for the right price, rules are easily ignored. So knowing this, why do people keep coming back? Why does the Blue Hole continue to draw adventurers despite its deadly reputation? Part of the answer lies in its mystique. Humans are naturally drawn to danger, fascinated by the unknown. The Blue Hole embodies both, a tantalizing mix of beauty and peril that few can resist. Its nickname, the Diver's Cemetery, only enhances its allure. For some, the risk is part of the appeal. Conquering the Blue Hole represents the ultimate test of skill and courage. Those who succeed earn bragging rights, while those who fail become cautionary tales. Either way, the Blue Hole ensures its legacy endures. Yet, there's another side to the story, one rooted in hubris and denial. Many divers underestimate the Blue Hole's dangers, believing themselves immune to its traps. They convince themselves they're different, smarter, stronger. After all, if others have made it through, why shouldn't they? This mindset is a recipe for disaster. The Blue Hole doesn't discriminate between novices and experts. It claims lives indiscriminately, proving time and again that no one is invincible. Even Tariq Omar, the man who has recovered dozens of bodies, admits he feels a chill every time he enters the water. He knows better than anyone that the Blue Hole is not just a dive site, it's a graveyard. While the Dahab Blue Hole may claim the title of the world's deadliest dive site, it is far from the only Blue Hole worth exploring, for those who value their lives at least. Take Dean's Blue Hole in the Bahamas, for example, which holds the distinction of being the deepest known saltwater blue hole on Earth, plunging to an astonishing depth of 663 feet. Unlike the treacherous funnel-like structure of Dahab, Dean's Blue Hole is accessible directly from the shore, with its entrance sitting in a shallow lagoon just a few meters deep. This gradual descent gives divers time to acclimate and prepare before venturing into its depths. It's no wonder that free divers, rather than scuba enthusiasts, flock here to attempt record-breaking feats. William Trubridge, one of the most celebrated free divers in history, has used Dean's Blue Hole as his training ground, descending over 100 meters on a single breath without the aid of fins or weights. Yet, even this seemingly serene site carries risks. The deeper you go, the colder and darker it becomes, and the pressure can crush even the most experienced athletes if they push too far. Nitrogen narcosis still looms as a silent threat, and the lack of visibility below certain points means disorientation is always a possibility. Still, compared to Dahab, where rogue operators and unprepared tourists often meet grim fates, Dean's Blue Hole feels almost forgiving, provided you respect its power. Another marvel worth mentioning is the Great Blue Hole off the coast of Belize, a United Nations educational, scientific, and cultural organization World Heritage Site, and one of the most iconic underwater wonders on the planet. At 300 meters wide and 124 meters deep, this colossal sinkhole is like a portal to another world. Its walls are adorned with ancient stalactites and stalagmites, remnants of a time when the cave was dry during the last ice age. Divers who venture inside describe it as an alien landscape, eerily quiet, and devoid of marine life due to the oxygen-depleted zones at greater depths. What makes the Great Blue Hole less perilous than Dahab, however, is its predictability. There are no sudden drops into abyssal trenches, no diagonal tunnels leading to open ocean, and certainly no rogue instructors cutting corners for profit. Instead, the dive follows a straightforward path along the sinkhole's circular rim, allowing divers to appreciate its geological beauty while minimizing risk. That said, it's not without challenges. Strong currents near the surface can sweep unsuspecting swimmers off course, and the sheer scale of the hole can make navigation tricky for beginners. But these hazards pale in comparison to the lethal combination of accessibility, extreme depth, and lax oversight that defines the Dahab Blue Hole. Where Deans and Belize offer calculated thrills within manageable limits, Dahab stands apart as a merciless predator hiding beneath a tranquil facade. Sites like Deans and the Great Blue Hole demand respect up front, rewarding those who approach them with caution and skill. They remind us that exploration doesn't have to come at the cost of our lives, but Dahab reminds us that nature always has the final say. Even today, the infamous Blue Hole remains a magnet for adventurers. Despite its deadly reputation, or maybe because of it, divers flock to Dahab, eager to test their skills against its challenges. Some come seeking glory, others chasing personal milestones. Few leave unchanged. Those who do emerge often speak of a profound respect for the forces they encountered beneath the waves. They understand now what the Blue Hole truly is, a gateway to both wonder and despair, a place where dreams go to die.